So you selected the club you want to manage, and you selected what your manager looks like and their attributes and all that sort of fine good stuff, what database size you want to have. Now it's time to actually go into the game and manage your club. Welcome to the How To series. Okay, so here we are, folks. We're at the inbox. So one thing I do need to bring you up to speed on in terms of something we missed out on the last episode, right at the very end, when I said click continue and you'll go into your inbox. Actually, there was one more screen that gives you the option of meeting the media. You select either yes or no. It's entirely up to you. If you want to meet the media, select yes. If you don't, select no. I usually do the yes button, but for some reason I click no, but it's up to you what you want to press. The other option is to arrange an intra-squad friendly, which is basically you play your under-21s. And the other option is for how regularly you want the staff meetings to take place. And you get a choice. I think it's weekly, fortnightly and monthly. I always select monthly for that, and I always select no for the intra-squad friendly. I don't really feel like you get anything out of the intra-squad friendly. Yes, you do get to look at your players and in the under-21s and all that, but you can look at that in the squad view. You don't need to look at that in a match that you're probably not going to get a great deal out of. So we did select no for that. Now, this will be the first screen you come across. This basically tells you what you already know, that Roger Rogers has been hired as a manager, and that's how funky we look. We have Millie Taylor as their press officer with an even funkier hairstyle, I've got to say. What I then do on here is I'll go to support profile, because this is a fairly important screen. So this will give you a breakdown of what your support profile is. So you can tell we've got 10% hard, 35% core, 18% family, 19% fair weather, 2% corporate and 16% casual. Over this side, it tells you things like your social media followers. You've got 2.6 million social media followers. At the end of the season, when you get the breakdown of this again, you'd expect that to go up. If it goes down, it means you've probably not been doing a very good job. Season ticket holders is 30,000 and our season ticket waiting list is 40,313. This is the important part though. The supporters' influence on the board is 3 stars, it's moderate. So they don't have a high influence on the board. They don't have a low influence on the board. They have somewhere in the middle. So if you look, we'll just quickly go to the club vision screen. What they want you to do is they want you to challenge for the UEFA Europa Conference League, and that is preferred. If you then go back to this side of it, they say record a Premier League top half finish. That is required by the supporters. It's not required by the board. So provided, but it is actually in there that you qualify for the Europa Conference League. So you're going to need to finish top half anyway. So they do kind of come in together. What you might find at some clubs is that the board says avoid relegation and the fans say top half finish or mid-table finish. If the supporter influence is low, then you can probably go with what the board want rather than what the fans want, and vice versa if the influence of the fans is high. So yeah, that's very much worth checking out. This is your club vision and expectations meeting. Basically tells you what you already need to know, but have a look through it. As you can see, work towards becoming self-sustainable, qualify for the Europa League, continue qualifying for the Europa League, continue qualifying for the Europa League, continue. So basically, qualify for the Europa League every season and Aston Villa will be happy with you as a club, providing you're doing that within the wage budget and being competitive in the cup competitions. We already know that we're happy to accept this, so we're going to click accept. You can negotiate it and try and change any of that. I never do. I just click accept. Then the next bit will tell you what players you've got that are in the last years of their contracts. Now, it's worth having a look at this, and obviously you've got your recommendations here. These will only be worth the paper they're written on if the people giving the advice are any good, and we'll get into that shortly. Tyrone Mings, 30-year-old commanding centre-back, 3.5-star current ability with 3.5-star potential ability. He's not going to get any better. He's 30 years old and he has injury concerns. What you can do is you can click on to him, you can go into reports and go to medical report. Now, obviously, you're not going to get a great deal of information because the game's new, but we can see that his most recent one here, damaged cruciate ligaments. Up here, he's out for 11 to 12 months. He's previously missed 11 months 8 years ago. Yeah, he's probably not. So You know you're not going to have him for the rest of this season anyway. It's just a case of, do you want him for future seasons to come? I'm already guessing probably not. But at the same time, there's not really anything we can do with him. And he does have a value of 20 to 25 million. So it could be worth signing him to a new contract, having it kick in for the end of the season. Again, we'll get to all that shortly. And see if you can actually sell him next season for some money rather than letting him go on a free transfer at the end of the summer. So that's the kind of thing you need to look at for here. Bertrand Traore is another one. He can play wide right, wide left, up top. We'll analyse all this sort of stuff in more detail when we get to the squad shortly, and that will be pretty much the next thing we do. He's out injured as well. And he's going to be out for, where do we find it? I can't see. We're going to his medical report. He's going to be out for 2 weeks, so he's not out for a great deal of time. Now, you will probably notice that the skin that I'm using here is a lot, or might be a bit different to the skin that you're using. The stuff that I'm looking at, it will pretty much be in the same place as where it is on this skin. Anything that's different, I will let you know so you know where to look for it on your one. But this is basically the TCS skin that I use in my Football Manager saves. So yeah, have a look through these. I mean, when you get, already we can see when we get to here, 2 stars, 2.5 stars, probably not worth much. We have got Ben Chrisen, who's a 19-year-old fullback. He's got the stars that are gold is what they're likely to get. The stars that are white are what they could get. They don't often though, so just go by the gold stars is my advice. Then you've got Josh Feeney, who potentially could be 4.5 stars, but likely to be 3.5 stars. It does tell you here significant potential. So because that one is telling us he's got significant potential, we might just look at him and go into the overview. So he's a centre-back, he's 6'2", 18 years old. Then we look at his pros and cons. His weakest attribute is his anticipation skills. His weakest area of the game is a fairly selfish player, probably not good for a defender. Can only play in one position, but he's 18, we can certainly retrain him. He is injury prone, fairly susceptible to injuries. He's a leading player for most Sky Bet League One teams. So he's someone that could be worth keeping around, but you don't have to make a decision immediately. You don't have to go through there and say, right, I need to offer contracts to all the ones I want to keep and whatever else. For now, just leave it. Just leave it, let it go, see what happens as the season goes on. Check back on it. You will get reminders throughout the season anyway. Then you've got your tactics induction. Absolutely do your tactics induction, but don't do it yet. We want to look at the squad first so we know what kind of players we've got. In the previous episode, we saw that the assistant manager was telling us we're best suited to a 4-2-4 formation, but we'll have a look at that when we get in-game. So we're just going to skip past that now to Aston Villa injury update. Again, tells you who's out. So we've got Buendia, who's out for 11 to 12 months. Tyrone Mings, who's out for 11 to 12 months. Keenan Davis is out for 4 to 5 months. Alex Moreno is out 4 to 5 months. Traore and Ramsey are out for potentially up to 3 months each. So these are players we're not likely to be seeing a great deal of. Courtney House is a squad player. He's back in 2 to 8 weeks. He's been out for 10 months so far. If we have a quick look at him, because it's someone we could potentially use, he's a squad player. Yeah, he's not particularly great. He's a 6'2" centre back. He's weak on the right foot, but very strong on his left foot. Probably not going to do a great deal with him, to be honest. Then you've got your squad selection rules. Have a read through this if you're not already familiar with it. It tells you what your squad size, minimum size of 15, maximum is 25. You have to have 2 goalkeepers in the squad. This is very useful if you're playing in strange foreign leagues that you've never been in before, where they might have really weird rules in there regarding what can and can't be in your squad. So that's for Europa Conference League. This is for your Premier League. That's all fine. That just tells you what's happening in the transfer window at the moment. Kai Havertz has signed for Arsenal and Dominic Szoboszlai has signed for Liverpool. And then it just says that we declined to meet the media. So the next screen we're going to look at is going to be the squad screen, and we're going to have a real deep dive into our squad. Okay then folks, before we get into the actual squad view, I just want to say, please leave a like on this video if you're enjoying what you're seeing at the moment, if you're finding any of it useful or anything like that. It'll help push these videos out to other people that perhaps are a bit daunted and overwhelmed by playing Football Manager, and it might help someone else like it's helped you. So yeah, massively appreciate that. And if you are enjoying it all, then subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, all that wonderful stuff. So let's get into the squad view. So straight away, because we selected that we have pretty much no experience of the game, this gives us the squad induction. Okay, now I'm going to skip this because I don't need to have the squad induction, but for you, take the squad induction now. And then that will take you through a lot of things that you need to know. Like I say, we're going to skip it. And this tells us or shows us what our squad is. So automatically we can come here, we can go all the way down, right click and see that we've got 29 people in our squad. Now, I will then filter it by position. That's also worth saying that the view you're going to get on this screen will again be different to mine. So the one that you get will probably be something along the lines of that. Selection info. It probably won't be that one. I think it is selection info is the default one that you get. What I do is I have my own one that's called Rad Evil Demo, and that gives me what I need to know. So on this screen, I can see their homegrown status to see whether they're homegrown in nation or club. It gives me their current ability, their potential, when their contract expires, what wage they're on, their training rating, their condition, their match sharpness, their morale, their playing time happiness, how many international caps they've had, how many international goals they've got. That's not really important. I just like to have it there. And then I have these 5 attributes, which I'll get to shortly. Their last 5 game ratings. And then if you scroll across, you've got appearances for Aston Villa, goals, assists, and average ratings. You've got the last 5 games rating and their average rating. Now, other people will have different layouts, but this is what I like mine to be. And obviously you've got their name and their position. Some people will have best position and all this sort of stuff. There's loads of different things you can add to it. So if you're over on the selection info screen and you're happy with this, then fine, stick with it. If you want to have the age of them in there and you want it after position but before condition, hover in there, right click, and you've got insert column just here. Go on to here again. That's where you can choose their attributes. Their current ability and all that. I think under general is when you find age. Yeah, there you go. Select age, and there you go. It pops it in there. What you can also do is so if you want to add a separator, you can choose to add separator left. Let's put that all the way over there. I didn't mean to do that, so we're just going to put none to remove it. So we're going to go in here, add separator right, put it in here. This one will be right again. That way we've got the position separate or separated from everything else. If you want to make it look more aligned with your page, you can also click auto size this column and it will make it look a little bit better in the layout. Like I say, the one that I go for is so I played about in that screen basically until I came up with this. It took a little bit of time to do. It took a while of fiddling about and stuff, but it's absolutely worth it once you get to it. So this is what I use, and you use whatever suits you. You know, it's what you find easier in the game. So we've now filtered it by position, and we've got all our goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and attackers. Over here where you've got filter, you can also add your under 21s, you can add your under 18s, or you can remove them. We've also got positions. So we're going to untick all the positions and just tick goalkeepers. Now, some people will just go straight into the squad planner for this. I prefer to do this here first and then I go into the squad planner afterwards. Some people will say that's a lot of wasting time and faffing about. That's their opinion. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying they're right. Like I keep saying, it's about how I play the game. So if you didn't know anything about Aston Villa, we can look at it and say, right, Emilio Martinez is clearly our best goalkeeper. So we definitely need to keep him around. Robin Olsen looks like he's our second best goalkeeper. And Sinisalo is probably not someone we would like to keep around. He's 21 years old. He's not got much by way of potential. So he's someone we could potentially look at selling on. So don't make any decisions yet, because you've got time to make that. You haven't even clicked continue for the first time yet. So just remember Sinisalo as someone that you're probably not going to want to keep around. What you can do is you can create a note for this player. It's not something I actually do very often, to be honest. So if you go down here, miscellaneous, create note, you can then title the note sell player. And in here you can just put sell player ASAP. Once you get over to here, remind the date. You can select the date you want to be reminded of it. So if you just want to forget about it for now but come back to it in a few days, we'll select the 7th of July. Set OK. Reminder once. Confirm. Now, what that will automatically do in your squad screen is it'll have a little yellow icon up there saying that you put a note to it. So even if you have forgotten you've done a note, that will tell you that you have got a note on that player, and you will get a reminder in your inbox on the 7th of July that'll say to you sell player, and you can say, okay, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Then we look at our defenders. So when we look at our defenders, we can see Diego Carlos, Ezri Konsa, Tyrone Mings are our centre-backs. Courtney House, we can look at him. Yep, he's a centre-back, can also play on the left. Then we've got Matty Cash as a right-back. Callum Chambers as a right-back, centre-back and defensive midfield. So we'll have a quick look at him. He's a centre-back and a right-back, definitely. He's accomplished in a defensive midfield position. He could play a role for us there. He could be useful to us. Then we've got Alex Moreno as a left back, but we also know he's out injured for 3 to 4 months. And we've got Lucas Digne as a left back. So the fact that Tyrone Mings is out for the season, he's not really going to be of much use to you. Same with Courtney House. He's not much use for the first couple of weeks. So straight away, we've got Diego Carlos, Ezri Konsa, and potentially Callum Chambers. So we're short of centre-backs. At left back, we've got Lucas Digne. And that's pretty much it until House comes back, and then he can add back up to that. So you might think you're a bit short there as well. And then you've got right back as Matty Cash. Callum Chambers can cover right back, but we're probably going to need him to cover centre back at the moment anyway. So we're pretty much short all the way across our back line is what this is showing us. What I will then do is have a look at our defensive midfielders, because this is where you can start to form your formation, you know, what kind of players you've got in your squad. So Matty Cash we're going to ignore because we know he's a right back. Callum Chambers we know we're not going to be using in central midfield. He's an option should we need him, but he's more likely to be centre back or right back. Moreno we know is out. Digne we know is a left back. So then we've got Marvellous Nakamba, Leander Dodonka, Yuri Tillemans, Douglas Luiz and Boubacar Kamara. So looking at these star ratings, which should only be a guide, because again, they are only as useful as what your assistant manager or whoever it is you've got that's giving you this opinion is. So if they're useless, then they're going to be useless. If they're really good, then they're a lot more reliable. So we can look at that and say we've got Tillemans, Luiz and Kamara as good quality defensive midfielders and central midfielders. So if we click on Tillemans, in the defensive midfield role, he can do a deep line playmaker, he can do a register, and then he starts to drop below 3 stars for the other things. He can do them, but he's not as good for it. Obviously, look at their attributes as well, because if they're good at tackling, 12 is reasonable, then he can probably do things like a ball-winning midfield and the other parts of the tackling roles. Then you've got in the central midfield role, he can be a deep line playmaker, he can be a central midfielder, he can be an advanced playmaker. If you click on Carolero, for example, it'll give you the option there. There's only one option, which is support. And then it will highlight what attributes he needs for that role. Now, when we've done the attribute skin colours, I had anything from 16 and above as excellent and anything from 12 and above as good. So we can look at first touch is excellent, passing is excellent, technique is excellent, vision is excellent. Everything else that he needs, he's good at, okay? And the dark green colours are what he really needs. The lighter bluey colours, I suppose, are what is required, but not as required as what these darker ones are. So looking at that, he would be pretty good as a Carolero. Okay, I'm not saying that's where we're going to use him, but that he would be pretty good as that. If we wanted to have him as a deep line playmaker on defend, again, he's a pretty well-rounded player, Yuri Tillemans. On support, again, very, very good. So he's someone we're likely to want to have in a midfield somewhere, one of these. Maybe want the deep line playmaker to be even deeper. Maybe want it to be a bit further forward. We'll soon work that out. Then you get into Douglas Luiz. Let's see what he's best at. So he can do this role. He can do any of these positions from anchor to segundo volante and everything in between. I would probably select him as a ball-winning midfielder on defending that role. So he's good. He's good. All of these are good except positioning, which is slightly below good. That's in the average bracket. So maybe not. But, you know, that he's 1 point away from being back into the good again. Would we want him as a segundo volante on support? Again, we look at this. Everything it's asking for, he's ticking all the boxes. He's another really well-rounded player. If we look at him in this position here as a central midfielder, not a defensive midfielder, they've highlighted the Mazzala role, and he's looking pretty good as a Mazzala as well. He's looking very good. You'd probably want to have him on the right side because he's very strong on his right foot, but he is also reasonable on his left foot. Then we have a look at Boubacar Kamara. Now, he's straight away, he's been highlighted as this role here. Half-back, ball-winning midfielder, defensive midfielder he seems to excel at. So already I'm looking at 3 in midfield with Boubacar Kamara in this role and Tillemans and Douglas Luiz here. So looking at that, I would say them 3 are nailed on. Then we need to start looking at what backups we got. So Leander Dodonka, he can play in both of these 2 roles, so that gives you the versatility that you need. He's not great, but he can do a job for you. And he can do a number of positions in each role as well. Then we look at Marvelous Nakamba, who again can do both positions. You look at his ability, his technicals are not the best, but mentals are pretty good and his physicals are pretty good as well. If we wanted him to be a ball-winning midfielder on defend, which is what they got highlighted here, this tells us he's actually more than capable of doing that. If we want to put him up here as a box-to-box midfielder on support, then that tells us his finishing is nowhere near where it needs to be. Neither is his long shots. Other things he's pretty good at. He's aggressive, he's brave, he's got good balance, he's good stamina. His work rate's very good, so is his teamwork. So there could be a role for him, but he's someone that we could potentially be looking at. Maybe we move on. These we're not really including as part of that because they are left backs and right backs and centre backs and whatever else. Now, what you can then do is go into your midfielders, and this again will give you a lot of the ones you've already had, the likes of Cash, Moreno, Nakamba, Dodonka, Tillemans, Luiz, Kamara. You've then got other ones below here that you haven't seen previously because they are either central midfielders or attacking midfielders. So here you've got Finn Azaz, who is 22 years old, Irishman, 2-star current ability, 2.5-star potential, strong on both feet. If we select him here, he's 2 stars. He's not really going to be getting any better. He's got a value of 1 to 3 million. It probably will be someone we end up moving on, to be quite honest. Morgan Sanson, 28 years old, 3 stars. He could probably provide something to us. He's a kind of player that we might not move on immediately, but he would be someone we could look at moving on later in the transfer window if we get someone in that can do a better job than he can. Leon Bailey is currently on holiday, probably back home in Jamaica. We've got 3-star current ability, 3.5-star potential. He's playing out wide, so we're going to disregard him for now because he's one of the wide players. Philippe Coutinho, 31-year-old Brazilian. he can do the attacking midfield role here. Unless we're playing a diamond, we're not likely to be using him in this position. But he can play out on the left. He likes to be a winger, an inverted winger, an inside forward, an advanced playmaker out there. He can do all of those. Strong on both feet. He's got really good free kick taking, which is something that might be worth keeping him around for. But again, I don't know. He's someone I'm a bit uncertain about. We're likely to keep him around, but we need to try and get the best out of him as well. Aaron Ramsey, not to be confused with the other Aaron Ramsey. He's a 20-year-old. He's got a bit of potential. He's a real young talent at Aston Villa, and I kind of feel he's being undersold with his potential ability there to what we think of him in real life. He can play in the centre of midfield. So if you're looking at having like an advanced playmaker, Mazzala, something like that, you could have him in that area. I think the fact he's 20 years old, he's going to be homegrown at club as well, I would imagine. So therefore, he's probably someone we're going to want to keep around, because you do have to fill quotas. So yeah, he's trained at club. You do need to keep an eye on that, because anyone that's trained at club is absolutely needed for your European squad sizes, because you have to have a certain amount of players at homegrown at club and at nation. Then we have the other Ramsey, Jacob Ramsey, 22 years old. He's more like it, 4-star potential, 3-star current. He is a really good player for Aston Villa in real life. But one thing I will say is, don't let real life sway your decisions about the game, because players in Football Manager can be a lot different to what they are in real life. For example, Romelu Lukaku in game is a monster. He will score goals for fun. But obviously, in real life, well, we all know what Romelu Lukaku is like in real life. So that's just one example. There are many examples in game. Do not go by your real world experiences. Go purely by the in-game experience. And it might even mean, if you're managing the club that you support, you might need to give a chance to someone that you don't necessarily like, i.e. Chelsea. If you're managing Chelsea because you're a Chelsea fan, you might actually want to look at Romelu Lukaku. Anyway, back to Jacob Ramsey. You can play in a central midfield role, Mazzala, advanced playmaker. So I'm already kind of thinking I'm wanting a Mazzala advanced playmaker type person here, because there's plenty of people that can do it. I'm kind of looking at having a deep line playmaker or someone here. I wouldn't have a deep line playmaker here if I've got an advanced playmaker there. I do have the view of not having more than one playmaker in the team. It is a bit of an outdated opinion. Not everyone agrees with that. Again, when you're at pre-season stage, it's a great time to experiment, because you can actually watch the games during pre-season to see how your tactics are performing. He can also do central midfielder, box to box. When you look here, box to box, he ticks a lot of the boxes. His tackling isn't great, neither is his positioning or aggression. But, you know, if he's only playing that position as a backup, then it's very much worth keeping him in mind for that. Then you've got John McGinn, who, looking at him, he wants to be, I mean, he can play. And I mean, he's a great player to have around, because he's very versatile. You can have him playing here, you can have him playing out there, you can have him playing out there. He can even do a job here. I mean, there's no suitable roles for this position. But if you look at him, his tackling is not the worst. He could probably do a ball-winning midfielder in that role. It's definitely worth getting him trained for that. He can even play in this position if you need to have one of those in your tactic. I actually like John McGinn. I think he's got a good star rating as well about him, which the star rating backs up the attributes. He's a great team worker. He's got great work rate, great determination, natural fitness, stamina. He's a good player, and he's someone that might actually end up being a key figure for us at this club. I'm saying that already. Then we click out midfielders, and we have attacking midfielders and attackers. Might as well put them all on together. Again, we're going to ignore the ones we've already seen. So that takes up to John McGinn. So you've then got Emiliano Buendia, who can play out on the right or in the middle. He's out injured currently. And if we look at his medical report, he's out for a long time. So we're going to ignore him. Bertrand Traore's out as well. We'll ignore him for the time being, and we know he's only going to be a backup anyway. Ollie Watkins is our striker, 16 finishing, good teamwork, good work rate, good natural fitness, good stamina. His decisions could do with a bit of improving. His composure could do with a bit of improving. But he's pretty good. As a pressing forward, he's 3.5 stars. As a complete forward, advanced forward, he's 3 stars. He is your best striker. So, or our best striker, I suppose I should say. Keenan Davis, we know, is also out injured for 4 to 5 months. Cameron Archer, so he's obviously not moved to Sheffield United or everybody went to in real life. He's got plenty of potential, let's be honest. He's not quite there at the moment, but his finishing is good. His composure is good. His decisions could do with a bit of improving. He's someone you might want to actually keep around. He does have a resale value of 23 to 30 million. Then you've got Wesley Moraes. I think he's pretty much useless, to be quite honest. He's not someone we're going to want as a striker. So what I will do now is we'll put on all positions. And you can even filter it left-sided, central, right-sided, all this sort of stuff. You can remove people that are unavailable, that are on long-term deals, that are not at the club, all this sort of stuff. So it's worth having a look at your filters. So I just wondered what happened then, but then I realised I hadn't clicked any of the positions. There you go. So then we go into our squad planner, but you need to create a tactic before you can set up your squad planner. That proves how rarely I'll come into the squad planner at this stage of the season. So what I'm looking at is this guy here, I'm probably not going to want to keep around. I'm going to probably want to sell. I've got a good idea of other players in here that I'm probably going to want to set, like Finan Azaz, for example, Morgan Sanson. I don't really want to keep them two around. Wesley Moraes, I don't really want to keep around. So I know already an idea of the players I want to move on. What I then do is I need to know how much money I've got to spend, what the wage budget is. So we go into finances. When you look at the finances, you see you've got £50 million in the transfer budget. Your wage budget is 2.8 million, but you're currently and committedly spending 2.5 million. So you've got 300,000. So you're probably going to need to move some players around to create a bit more budget. Your scouting budget is 390,000. Now you can make budget amendments. If you want to have more wage budget and less transfer budget, you can slide that up or you can slide it back the other way. We'll leave that for now. You can also click in here to make board requests, but again, that's not something you need to be doing right this very second. I'm now going to look at our staff, and again, it will give you the option to do backroom staff induction. So join me after this transition when we'll have a real deep dive into our staffing and what I tend to do in my saves. Okay, so here we are in our staff screen. And the first thing you want to look at is you've got coaching staff, recruitment team members and medical staff. Recruitment team members, obviously your scouts and that. Start over this side with your medical staff. Have a look at the numbers next to each one. So head physio 1 out of 1, that means you ain't got to worry about it. Where you get physio 2 out of 4, that means you've actually got room for 2 more physios. Sports scientists 1 out of 3, you've actually got room for 2 more sports scientists. As you can see down here, we're not anywhere near the best. What I like to do then is to click on medical team, and this will show you who you've got. Now, you have no say over the chief doctor. That's, you either have that or you don't recruit that. For the head physio, we have Alan Smith. He's got a 19 for physiotherapy. I'm quite happy with that. It might be worth seeing what his sports science part is like. If you can get someone that's got higher sports science as well, then that will help balance the sports science side of it as well. But his main role is he's the head physio. Then the head of sports science is Sarah Turry. She's 16 for sports science. I'm not convinced by that, not as a head of sports science. So we'll click out of that for the moment. Stephen Polly, that to me is unacceptable. So I'm going to go for mutual termination because I'm not interested in having someone that's got 14 for physiotherapy. Then you get to Rob Marshall, 16 plus 8 sports science, good adaptability. Okay, we'll probably keep him around for now. Then sports scientist Aman Singh Shergill. Again, I'm not interested in keeping him around. So we'll mutually terminate his contract as well. So when you get back to this screen, you'll know that you're going to only have one physio and you're not going to have any sports scientists. So when you go to this box, place advert, medical, physio, and then you do the same again, but this time for sports scientists. And once you've refreshed the screen and click continue and whatever else, that will update to 1 of 4 and none of 3. And you'll know that that's what you're recruiting for. We then move over to recruitment team. And I'll do this all the way through now. It's a similar sort of concept. So director of football, technical director, chief scout, we've got enough. Loan manager, we've got enough. We've only got 6 out of 12 scouts that we're allowed, and we've only got 3 out of 5 recruitment analysts that we're allowed. And what I'll do in a future episode, won't be the next episode, probably be the episode after that, is when we start getting the job adverts come through where people have applied for the job, I'll talk you through what I'm looking for in each of the categories for when it comes to employing people. And don't worry if you don't find enough the first time round, you can just continue the advert and find someone on the next batch that comes through. So there's no rush for it. So straight away, we're going to click into recruitment team. We've got Monch as our director of football. We're quite happy with that. Matthew Kids as our technical director. Their chief scout. I mean, that for me is not great as a chief scout. I'd struggle for that with an actual scout. I'm going to leave it for the time being because we don't know what the rest of them are like. So Brian Byrne, I mean, that is terrible. We are absolutely mutually terminating his contract because that is atrocious. You don't want that. John McKenna. Again, I mean, he's 68 years old as well. Do you know what? We're going to mutually terminate his contract. Then we get to Alex Fraser. We'll keep that for the time being. He's got 16 for judging player potential, 15 for judging player ability. Long term, we'll want better than that, but we'll keep it for the time being. Owen Lee. I mean, that again is terrible. And again, when you look over here, the only knowledge he's got is of England. So it's not like he's got other nations that he could give some sort of benefit to. We'll mutually terminate his contract. Then Bryn Davis. Again, he can only really do England. I don't really want him either. We're going to mutually terminate his contract. And then our last scout, Aaron Calvin. Again, it's rubbish. We're going to mutually terminate his contract. So I think that's 3 scouts we've mutually terminated the contracts of. The recruitment analysts, I'll leave as they are for the time being. We do need 2 more. And if you look in there, it'll tell you analysing data. I mean, we're not going to leave it because he's rubbish. We just need to get rid of a load of our staff, to be quite honest. He is not particularly good either, so we'll get rid of him. And Ben Hackney, again, he's not particularly good. We're going to get rid of him. We're just having a clean sweep of recruitment analysts, folks. So we then go back to here. We know we're going to have only 3 of 12 scouts and no recruitment analysts. So we definitely, obviously, need to place adverts. Click scout. And then click recruitment analyst. Then we come into the coaching team. So looking at this, we're low on technicals, we're low on mentals. Our goalkeeping isn't great. I mean, none of it's great, to be honest. But if you hover on them, by the way, it will tell you where you are. So for attacking, we are rated third for attacking coaches in the Premier League. The best is Manchester United, the worst is Luton. So let's click on the coaching team. So we've got 2 assistant managers. We've got Paco Aystaran, probably said that completely wrong, and Pablo Villa. I don't really think we're going to need both of them. Now, he's really good for judging player ability and judging player potential. He's got some reasonable coaching about him, which a lot of assistant managers will have rubbish coaching, which I hate because I have them taking charge of my training. We'll have a look at Paco. And, I mean, to be fair, he's 20 for fitness, 18 for tactical. We don't really want him as an assistant manager because we've already got 2. I mean, the one thing we do know is looking at this, we don't want him doing our judging player potentials. We'd rather that be Pablo Villa. Our head of youth development, he's perfectly good for that role. He's very good for that role, in fact. So we've only got 1 goalkeeping coach. He's pretty good. No reason to get rid of him. We will need a second goalkeeping coach though. We've got a set piece coach in Austin McPhee. Yeah, I mean he's good there. His tactical knowledge, I would say, is probably quite important. And he's not great there, but we'll keep him for now because we haven't got anything better. We've got 3 fitness coaches, yet our fitness is nowhere near the best. I would expect to do, I mean, he's gone, so mutual termination for that one. Patrick Moore, he's gone, mutual termination. I wouldn't normally have more than 2 fitness coaches. Moises Del Hoyo, he can go as well. I'm sure we can do better than him. So we've just got rid of all their fitness coaches. Then in terms of actual coaches, we've got Rodri. I mean, I'm not filled with joy with that, but we're not going to get rid of him. We'll keep him for now. Jamie Arias. I mean, that is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Now, he does a secondary job, doesn't he? Yeah, he's a performance analyst as well. Do you know what? We're just going to get shot of him. Let's just let him go and get somebody else in. Head performance analyst is Jeremy Oliver. Yeah, he's reasonable enough for that. We'll keep him. Then we've got our performance analysts. I mean, he's not particularly good, so he can go. Joseph Ure. Again, he's not very good. He can go. Scott Ade Linforth. Our staff are rubbish. If this is what Aston Villa staff are like in real life, then fair play to Unai Emery for what he's getting out of the club. He's good. We'll keep him. So we know from this, if we go back to here, we're going to need to place adverts for a goalkeeping coach, place adverts for a fitness coach, and place adverts for a normal coach. We might also be needing someone for the performance analyst side of things as well from what we've let go, but we can come back to that next time. So that's us. We've worked out what staff we want to keep, what staff we don't want to keep, who we're moving on, all that sort of stuff. And we've got adverts placed for all of the roles. So staffing is pretty much under control. We now come to the responsibilities screen. Now, some people will click here. I just think that's a lot of text and it means nothing. Go through it one by one. The board you don't need to touch, you just leave it as it is. When it comes to the staff, handles, team selection, Aston Villa, that's me. I don't want anyone else picking a team. I want to be picking a team. Handles team selections for the under-21s and the under-18s. Yeah, just have it as your under-21s and your under-18s manager. If you've not got one, choose your director of football, your assistant manager or whatever. Just, you don't need to be doing that. All of these you can delegate to other people if you don't want to do it yet and you want to come back to it later on in the game. So the hiring and firing a director of football, you can just give that to somebody else. You just click the delegate button and choose who you want to hand it off to. And you can do that for everything on here. When it comes to the staff for the under-21s, the under-18s, I pretty much give it to everyone else. I'll keep myself as as employing the manager for them teams because I want to have a say in that. But again, if you don't want to, if you want that to go to your Monchi, your director of football, or to Matthew Kidson, your technical director, then that's what you can do. All you have to make sure you do is at the end of it, just select confirm. I do tend to be the one that hires all of my staff because I like to have good staff, but I know there's plenty of people that will hand that off to their director of football and technical director to take care of all of that. I'm happy with that being the way it is, so I'm going to select confirm. Then you get to advice report. So recruitment, get advice from, I'm going to leave that as Monchi, but if you select the drop down, it will tell you who's good at all of this. As you can see, Monchi is the best at judging player ability and potential, so we'll keep that with him. Providing scouting feedback, you don't get the same ratings here, but basically I would probably choose, I mean, you've got a choice between your chief scout and your director of football. I'm going to choose my director of football in this occasion. Development, Pablo Villa, we already know is good at that, so we're going to keep him doing that. But you can also see that Mark Harrison is also excellent in that. He's the head of youth development. Maybe choose him. I think on this occasion we will, because it is about development. It's not about the here and now. It's about how they're developing. Provides player reports. We'll probably keep that with Pablo Villa. Provides youth development reports. Mark Harrison's our head of youth development. We'll keep that with him. And looking at the rest of these, I think we'll just keep it as it is. So then you've got your player targets and frequency every week, fortnight, month or never. I never touch any of this. I just leave it exactly as it is. Staff meeting frequency. You do get this option, like I said in the screen, that I didn't show you at the end of the last episode. But it can be weekly, fortnightly or monthly. I mean, you can choose never. If I were, to be fair, this is the first time I've realised you can choose never. I'm very tempted to click that. But we'll keep it monthly, so we are still getting it. And if I want to look at it, I can. I never do. Then analyst report frequency. Again, whatever it says on here, we'll just say monthly because that's what it was on there. Keep it as it is. Scouting. Assign scouts. If you want to assign the scouts yourself, you can. If not, you can choose your director of football or your chief scout. I'm going to choose my chief scout because what's the point in having a chief scout if he's not doing anything? Providing scouting feedback, I will choose Monchi for that one. I always have my director of football give me the feedback. Handling scouting meetings, I leave that as me. But again, you can delegate it. All of this you can delegate if you really want to. And then, like I say, come back to it when you want to, when you're used to it. Providing scouting opposition reports. Providing own team analysis reports. And along here, it does give you a little bit of detail as well. So collates and provides analysis reports on our own team. The other one is for the opposition. Providing opposition and analysis reports, collates and provides analysis reports on the opposition. I don't really change any of this. All I do is the first three. I don't bother with these two. I'll never touch these down here either. But again, you've got the options there if you want to. Then we get to transfers and contracts. Now, we're going to be making a few alterations to here because I'm not doing all of that. So negotiating player signings for Aston Villa, that is me. I love doing transfers, so I want to be the one doing that. Initiate player signings for Aston Villa, that's me. What you can do is if you select your director of football for that, then your director of football will initiate signings. And sometimes they can come up with some really good ideas. It's something that's worth doing, especially I find if you're in lower league. So for the sake of this, we're going to keep that on there. Then I can show you what type of players Monchi is coming up with for us. Finalising player signings for Aston Villa, I always keep that myself. So even if you send everything else to your staff, always keep finalising player signings as you, because you're the one that needs to finalise it. You don't. Otherwise, of course, if you're doing a director of football save where your director of football is deciding all of that, then obviously you'd put it to your director of football. But otherwise, take it for yourself. Handle incoming offers for the first team players. Yes. So initiating player sales for Aston Villa, I do keep this as me as well. I don't want my director of football doing any of that. Then outgoing development loans. Now, finding development loans for young players. We do have a loan manager, so we will make use of him and we'll select that to the loan manager. Finalising player signings for Aston Villa's under 21s. Yes, I will be the one that does that. Initiating player signings for Aston Villa. That will be my director of football. Negotiating player signings for Aston Villa. Again, we'll leave that with me. Initiating player sales for the under 21s. Yeah, we'll leave that as me. Because I want to be the one that initiates the sales. Negotiating player sales and finally, we'll probably leave that all to me for now. But again, if I was you and this is your first time playing the game, just reassign all this. It's so much easier for you. Just reassign it. You haven't got to worry about it. Finalising player signings for the under 18s, that's me. Initiating player signings, we will then give to Monchi, like we have up here. Negotiating player signings for Aston Villa's under 18s, that's Monchi in there. So I think we'll put Monchi on that one as well. Then handle incoming offers, we'll leave that all as it is. Because we made changes to it, we need to hit confirm. You've also got contracts, player contract discussions. I deal with player contracts, so there's never any need for me to change that. Offer via transfer room. If there's anything you want to change in here, you can. So like outgoing development loans for the senior squad, you can say that you want the wage percentage to be 40%, the playing wage, and the unused to be 40%. You want their playing time to be minimum as a regular starter. Anything here you want to, if you want the facilities to be average and above, then choose that. I rarely touch all this, but we'll leave that as it is now for the sake of doing this. Then we get to media. So I will not be attending new signing press conferences. So that will be my assistant manager. Attends league press conferences, I will leave that on. Attends domestic cup preferences, we'll give that to our assistant manager. Attends continental press conferences, we'll give that to our assistant manager. And broadcast interviews, we'll give to our assistant manager. So I will do the league ones, but I'm not doing anything else. You don't have to do any of these. I only do it because in your player pro or your manager profile thing, you do get judged on media handling and all that sort of stuff. So at least by doing those, I get a little bit of a manager rep boost for attending them press conferences. But again, you don't need to. It's entirely up to you. The only way I look at it is if I'm doing a non-league save like I am with Aveley, then if I'm not attending any media duties, it might have me as being unfriendly towards the media, and it could affect my chance of getting a job further down the line. But it's up to you. So we click confirm. We can now do training. Now this is something I never do training. So we'll give Pablo Villa the responsibility of doing all of that. That's all allocated to other people. I don't want nothing to do with training. I will have something to do with individual training, although I've put Pablo Villa to lead individual training for Aston Villa. When we get to our dev centre shortly, that is when I will take control of certain individual training, but not many. So again, we click confirm. Then we get to tactics, provide team selection advice for Aston Villa. Happy with that. Provides opposition instructions. No, I'm going to change that to Pablo Villa as well. So basically I want Pablo Villa to give me the opposition instructions. That can be as it is. I can now click confirm. Then we get to the match. Handle touchline shouts. That's me. Lee's team talks for Aston Villa. That's me. Lee's friendly matches for Aston Villa. Yes, some people will allocate that to their assistant manager for pre-season. I don't, because I like to look, especially when I first arrive at a club, or even if I've been with a club for 2, 3, 10 years, if I'm bringing in a new tactic, I want to see how the team is performing in pre-season with that tactic, what tweaks I need to make to it and all that. So we will leave that as that is. All of that I don't ever look at, I don't touch. It's nothing to do with me. As long as I'm not selected for any of it, it's fine. So yeah, no need to change anything on there. And then we get to set pieces. Handles team set piece tactics. Nope. Austin McPhee can do that. Handles team set piece takers list. Happy for Austin McPhee to do that. Again, it's something you can take control of later on if you want. But no, I'm going to leave that with Austin McPhee for now. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to put myself, so I want to make sure we're doing the type of set pieces that I want us to do. So we'll click confirm there because we're doing that. If you're looking for a scout, you can click staff search. Click on here for scout. And then you can select whether they're employed by club, nation, any, whatever. We'll just leave all that as it is. World reputation the same. Then you can do the attributes, select attribute for the key role. So we're going for scout. So they're the key roles that the game has suggested. Condition for free selected attributes is at least 15. We'll bump that up to 16 and say okay. And then that will give us a list of 13 people that we could potentially sign. Now, we're not going to go by this. I'm just showing you because if that's how you want to hire your staff, this is a way of doing it. You can look down here and you can say that David Trezeguet, who I know from the game already, is excellent. I usually have him as a chief scout. But whether you go for that or not is entirely up to you. You don't have to, but you can do if you want. You've got star shortlist, so anyone you've shortlisted will be in there. That's your job centre if you want to look for other jobs. And that tells you your job security for, so with us, for example, we're stable and the finances are okay. Wonderful stuff. So that's staffing taken care of. Squad planner we'll do in the next episode when we do the tactics. The data hub we can't do at the moment anyway. The squad, we've already had a look at that. If you look at your competition screen, you've got the English Premier Division. There's not really, this just tells you what you're in basically. It doesn't tell you how you're performing, but it does tell you that the board expectation is top half. Board expectation is reach the semi-final minimum. Be competitive, be competitive. Scouting we'll get into later on. Transfers, you can always come in here, go to transfer history and see if there's any future transfers that have been arranged. We know there isn't, but that is something you can do. We've had a look at the finances. This is your development centre. This is something you really do need to look at before you click continue for the first time. Take the induction. We've got strong under 21 squad, an average under 18 squad. We'll skip it for now because we don't need it. But if you're doing it, by all means, do actually do that. This will tell you first team candidates. This will tell you anyone that needs attention and ones to watch. So looking at this, we've got Jaden Philogene in the under 21 squad, who's 2.5 star current ability, 2.5 star to 3.5 star potential. This is the one that's jumping out to me. Kerr Smith, an 18-year-old centre-back. We know we've got room for centre-backs in our squad. So 18-year-old centre-back, potential 5 star. His training rating's been terrible. But if we look at him, he's 6'3", so he's tall enough. His attributes all look reasonable for someone of his age. He's someone we could look at and say, do we want to send him out on loan? Do we want to keep him with us and give him chances in our first team? That's all something absolutely worth looking at. And I think we're going to keep him around. He is wanted on loan by a whole host of clubs. So, for example, if Cardiff come in, or Ipswich, Middlesbrough, whoever, if any of them come in wanting to have him on loan, they're prepared to make him an important player, a regular starter, we'd be quite open to that, I think. Josh Feeney is an 18-year-old centre-back as well. Pretty much fits the same mould as the other chap. He has got a retail value of 14 to 17 million, but he could be worth a lot more in the future. Here's another one here, John Duran. I'm going to ignore what we've seen of him in real life because, like I say, that doesn't matter. He's 19-year-old Colombian, good Sky Bet Championship player. He could be someone we want to have in our team because I think he's probably better than a lot of what we've already got. So if we compare him with Cameron Archer, for example. So Archer is quicker and he is better attacking. But other than that, Duran really does fit a good mould there. I do feel he's only getting chances now because Cameron Archer's obviously moved on. He's certainly someone that I would potentially look at bringing through. When you look at our squad, Keenan Davis, who's out injured 4 to 5 months, I think what we probably need to do is hide the unavailable people so that we know we haven't automatically there. That takes our squad down to 20 people just from the ones that are unavailable. So we've got 9 players in our squad that are unavailable. When we take them out, that is our squad. So our squad looks a lot different now. When you look at, so we look at the actual under 21 squad. Now, I always rate it by ability first, so you can see who is the best ability-wise currently. And Jaden Philogene, who can play out on the right or left, I'm not sure he's really going to have a future here, to be honest. He's 21 years old. Good Sky Bet Championship player. We could probably 12 to 16 million for him. He's currently wanted on loan. But if we go to the transfer, we'll ask the agent about market interest. We're curious, because that's all we are. There is some interest in Jaden. There's nobody willing to make an offer just yet. Okay, so we don't need that. So we'll come out of that. So as we can see here, there's active interest from Leicester, Millwall and Sheffield Wednesday as a loan. Now, what they may want to do is, if we go to his loan list, so he is available for loan, we want 40% and 40%. We'll leave the director of footballs doing nothing. And we'll confirm that. Now, that's not deterred anybody, so that's useful. We're not going to hire an intermediary or offer via transfer room yet. But yeah, there is interest in it. So we might be able to get a kind of loan where there's a mandatory fee that they pay 15 million for him in the future or something like that. So we're quite happy with that one. But yeah, we'll look through all of these after we've chosen our tactic and who we actually want in our squad and all this sort of stuff. Because you don't want to just get rid of all of your players, but we do at the same time want to raise money. So our under 21s, there's a few reasonable players, especially when you look at potential wise. I'd say any of those potentially could actually be pretty good for us, including Jaden. That's why it's only a curiosity at the moment. And the rest of them are all 18, 19 anyway. If we look at our under 18s, which isn't meant to be a great squad, in terms of ability, they're not great. But in terms of potential, we've got at least the top two with potentially these ones upwards that could actually be worth bringing around. So we'll keep an eye out on this. Like I say, in the next episode, we're going to do tactics in the next episode. And when we do that, we will finalise our squad, the way it's looking and all that sort of stuff. We'll identify exactly who we need. But this, at the moment, is just about getting to know the players that you need. So we've got all these contracts to be terminated. I'll do all that off camera. And then it tells you where you're advertising jobs. And yeah, I think that's pretty much this part of it done. The tactic will absolutely be the next part. So I'd love it if you could join me for episode 3 next Sunday at 2 o'clock. I am aware this has been a very long episode, and it'll probably be the longest episode of the series because there is just so much to go through on this screen. So I'll see you next Sunday for episode 3. Thank you very much for watching, folks. Please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications if you want to see more. I'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.